Hello, hello. Author Kim Patton here, and I have another book to review, Leaving Cloud 9 by Ericka Andersen. I'll read you the subtitle, The True Story of a Life Resurrected from the Ashes of Poverty, Trauma, and Mental Illness. So, this is a nonfiction, journalistic approach, but Ericka Andersen is telling the story of her husband. So her husband Rick is the focus of the whole book, and because she has married him and knows his story really well, she can tell the story truthfully, and because of her talent as a journalist, she does a really good job. So it is a sad, hard book, has some subject matter that is difficult to read about, but the way she tells it is really compassionate, and you really get a picture of what his childhood was like, which is the focus of most of the book, is his childhood. And he talks about his mother and the various men in her life and how that was harmful to Rick and his sister. There's some scenes that are difficult to read, but overall, mostly the mother was very neglectful. So he and his sister were left by themselves a lot. I'm doing a book review with my daughter today. She's a special guest appearance. Guest appearance. The last section of the book, I would say quarter of it, third or quarter of it, was just, I was glued to the page and I had to know what happened. And the way Ericka portrays his redemption, specifically how he came to Christ, how they met, and how he pretty much, like she said, rose from the ashes. I mean, he really, the poor guy had so much going against him. Like, just an unbelievable amount of trauma to prevent him from growing up to be a man of God and a family man, anything like that. But guess what? That's exactly what happened. And I loved that. I loved it. I was crying. I couldn't believe how far he had come. And I really enjoyed reading the whole journey. Of course, the ending was my favorite, but the way she built it up was very well done. So let me tell you a little bit more about Ericka. We were on a podcast together, and she has her podcast called Worth Your Time, and it's for women. And she's really passionate about not only educating women about faith and church matters, but family is really important to her. Raising godly children is really important to her, as it is to me. Right, Eden? Did you fall down? It's really important to me to raise godly children and also just to love them. And Ericka is a person who on social media shows her family and also talks about the things of the church. She writes articles for bigwig magazines that, you know... Yes, you fell. I'm sorry. She does a really good job. She's like a reporter, but I really like the more personable side of her. And you get to see that a lot on social media and on her podcast, and she interviews amazing women on her podcast. Podcast! Yeah. So I definitely recommend her podcast. She also has a new book coming out in the fall about women and the church. So definitely recommend her just as a person. And not only do you get to hear me talk about her, but she actually sent me a little video talking about this book and just showing her beautiful face. So stay tuned, because coming up, right after this video, I have a little clip of her. And I'll have the info below of how you can find her and this book. Once again, Leaving Cloud 9 by Ericka Andersen. So, happy reading. Keaton, can you say bye-bye?
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
Hi, my name is Ericka Andersen, and I am the author of the book Leaving Cloud 9, The True Story of a Life Resurrected from the Ashes of Poverty, Trauma, and Mental Illness. I'm so thankful that God gave me the privilege of writing this book. It is the story of my husband's life, having grown up in trauma, abuse, neglected, suffering from bipolar disorder, depression, being the witness of domestic violence, and in a home where drug addiction and alcoholism were very prevalent. He had a really hard life story, but God redeemed him, and through our story and through his coming to know Jesus, he turned his life around and is now living in the freedom that comes with that. So we were so thankful to be able to write this book and to give people hope and to tell them there is something better and that you can overcome the past. So thank you so much for thinking about us and considering this book.